Imagine this. You're at a party, surrounded by friends and acquaintances, when someone walks in that immediately draws everyone's attention. Maybe it's a famous celebrity or athlete. Maybe it's someone deemed extremely attractive by society's standards. Suddenly, a hush falls over the room as all eyes fix on this person, awaiting their every move and word. This scenario reveals a fundamental truth about human nature. We are wired to obsess over and give our full, undivided attention to people and things we deem worthy of importance, fame, or desire. But the ancient philosophy of Stoicism would urge us to pause and ask, why are we so quick to surrender our attention? In ancient Athens around 300 BC, there lived a highly educated former merchant named Zeno of Citium. One day, while engaged in a typical activity of the time, discussing philosophy in the public plaza, his attention was drawn by a wealthy nobleman. This nobleman entered surrounded by an entourage, fine robes billowing behind him, as he arrogantly demanded the crowd's respect and deference. But Zeno did not fawn over the nobleman's wealth or status. In fact, he is said to have remarked with indifference, "Why should I respect you? I respect only those worthy of respect, the wise and virtuous." Enraged by Zeno's perceived disrespect, the nobleman threatened him with violence, but Zeno calmly replied, "You are mistaken if you think I care at all about your threats, for I pay no mind to the externals in life over which I have no control." This was the foundation of Zeno's belief system that came to be known as Stoicism. At its core was the idea that we should not allow ourselves to be disturbed by things outside our control, such as wealth, status, health, or respect from others. Rather than craving these external things, we ought to derive self-worth and fulfillment from our inner wisdom, self-discipline, and commitment to virtue. It's a philosophy distinctly countercultural then and now. We live in an age of unprecedented focus on appearance, fame, and the perception of success. Reality TV showcases the glamorous lives of the wealthy and beautiful. Social media influencers monetize, giving people a peek into their cultivated lifestyles. Corporations exploit our psychological vulnerabilities through incessant advertising and branding. The clear message is that we should crave and idolize those who have achieved these coveted external values: beauty, fame, wealth, status, and the admiration of others. However, the Stoics would argue this all stems from a misguided understanding about where to derive true self-worth. Imagine if at that party, when the attractive celebrity first walked in, no one paid them any mind. No hushed whispers, no clamoring for attention or photos, just casual indifference, as if a mere mortal had arrived. To the Stoics, this would be the ideal response, and because to them, external values like fame, beauty, and wealth are essentially worthless indifference that have no bearing on one's virtuous character. As the Stoic philosopher Epictetus famously said, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." The Stoics were not simply indifferent misers, however. They recognized some external things can be preferred over others, like health over sickness, wealth over poverty. But they stressed that these preferred indifference should never be assigned ultimate importance or allowed to derail one's commitment to reason and virtue. The true path to tranquility, the Stoics argued, comes from being thoughtful and selective about what we choose to devote our precious attention towards. Why surrender our finite focus and mental energies to things beyond our control? This only breeds anxiety, resentment, and unhappiness. Instead, we ought to recenter our attention inwards, on our ability to respond to circumstances with wisdom, integrity, and self-discipline. We cannot control the universe, but we can control our reactions and commitment to virtuous intent and action. In the words of Stoic sage Musonius Rufus, not violence full of arrogance needs to be revered, but instead the ability to make the right choice in life. To the Stoics, dominating others through force, wealth, or beauty was worthy of indifference. The only virtues worth venerating were wisdom and excellence of character. And Stoicism had no shortage of shining examples to point towards in its widespread philosophy of focusing inwards over outwards. Take Cato the Younger, the Roman statesman renowned for his unwavering commitment to self-mastery and moral integrity amid chaos. Despite being born to wealth and status, Cato avoided luxuries and distractions in favor of tireless studying of philosophy and being of service to the Republic. Or look to the freed slave Epictetus, who overcame his underprivileged start in life through studying Stoic philosophy under Musonius Rufus. He would go on to become one of the most impactful Stoic teachers through his message of how to achieve tranquility by differentiating between what we can and cannot control. There is only one way to happiness, Epictetus instructed, and that is to cease worrying about things which are beyond the power of our will. Even the famously powerful Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius obsessively studied and implemented Stoic philosophy to maintain equanimity and wisdom while ruling an empire. "The universe is change," he wrote. "Our life is what our thoughts make it." Clearly, to the Stoics, one's ability to cultivate and ritually practice a philosophy of self-restraint, emotional discipline, and virtuous reasoning was deserving of society's utmost respect and attention. Not the externals of celebrity, physical beauty, or material wealth, this radical refocusing of priorities went even further in ancient Stoic teachings. The philosophers did not simply preach avoidance of fixating on external indifference like wealth and fame. They actively encouraged practicing the art of giving less attention overall. For example, the Stoics advocated for minimalist living and cutting out unnecessary luxuries, activities, and relationships that drained one's energy and attention. "Wealth is the slave of a wise person," taught Seneca the Younger. "The master observes with moderated use the wealth which fortune has made slaves under his control." They encouraged adherents to ruthlessly audit how they spent their daily supply of time and attention. Pursuing any endeavor not aligned with studying philosophy and cultivating virtue was seen as wasteful. Activities like conspicuous consumption, obsessing over work for the purpose of accumulation, or idolizing celebrities were deemed unworthy focuses of one's valuable attention. Instead, the Stoics concentrated their mind's energy on rigorous self-reflection, debate of philosophical principles, and perfecting their personal conduct through restraint and reason. This commitment extended to moderating their engagement with pleasures like food, drink, entertainment, and intimacy to prevent overindulgence. The analogy was made that just like an experienced archer, the Stoic carefully aimed and measured their investiture of focus and passion. Rather than shooting philosophical arrows in infinite directions, they prudently took purposeful shots towards cultivating virtue in their inner character and actions. All other pursuits were background noise to be avoided. In many ways, this Stoic ideal of hyper-intentional focus puts them in stark contrast to modern society's climate of mass distraction, frenzied information overload, and indiscriminate output of attention towards anything that entertains or panders to our impulses. Social media, 24/7 news, endless entertainment, and exploitative advertising have created a frenzy of external stimuli, all militating for our time and attention, not to mention the deluge of content creators, pundits, public figures, and online personalities of all stripes, aggressively soliciting our focus through headlines, trolling, and relentless self-promotion. The Stoics would likely look at this modern landscape of fracturing attention as a dystopian nightmare. To them, it serves as a gravely unhealthy environment that constantly lures us away from pursuing wisdom, moderation, and virtue, and instead surrendering our precious thoughts and mental energies to an infinite stream of hollow external distractions. Imagine if our dedication to Stoicism included having the discipline to opt out of much of this modern frantic competition for attention. What if we treated our daily reserve of focused attention as the most precious commodity, rationing it out sparingly and with ruthless intentionality? This is the opposite of how most of us live today. We have been conditioned to indiscriminately dole out our attention to anything that entertains, enrages, or panders to our impulses. We are ambushed with notifications, addicted to infinite content streams, and constantly seeking shallow validation through likes, shares, and follows. To the Stoics, this would be a profoundly wasteful way to allocate our finite powers of concentration and mental energy. It neglects nourishing our highest capacities for reason and virtue in favor of enslavement to fleeting distractions and endless ephemera. A core Stoic practice was to constantly audit one's thoughts and consciously rein in mental energies from wandering towards worthless external pursuits. Seneca cautioned disciples to be careful lest this love of progress bear you off from that which is best, living a life that is simple, honorable, and noble. Imagine applying this discipline in the modern age, being judicious about opening up social media apps and intentionally limiting your attention toward most of the addictive, infinite feeds. Consciously rejecting giving free focus towards most promoted content, advertising, celebrities, and internet din fighting for your attention. Rather than indiscriminate attention, you allocate focused time only towards nourishing wisdom, willfully cultivating virtue in your life, and honing your ability to discern between things within your control and those external forces to dispassionately accept. The prolific distractions of our hyper-connected world pose less of a challenge when you have internalized the Stoic ideal of concentrating consciousness solely on that which aids your rational self-mastery and ethical living. To the Stoics, our individual supply of attentional energy was a potent form of personal power, one that should be conserved and strategically directed only towards purposes of studying philosophy, refining one's character, and being of service to the world through right reasoning and virtuous action. Everything else was unworthy background noise to be tuned out. Imagine carrying this hyper-focused intentionality and aversion to distraction into all aspects of modern life. Tuning out from social media FOMO and relentless entertainment to make space for reading, journaling, and vigorous intellectual discussion. Rejecting chasing retweets, follows and shares in favor of doing honest work and taking pride in mastering your craft. Freeing mental energies from wasteful consumer impulses and conspicuous displays to calmly appreciate life's simple joys. By strategically rationing your daily focus towards wisdom over distraction, you would in many ways be maximizing your potential as a human being, as the ancient Stoics defined it. Allocating your potent attentional resources only towards cultivating a robust character guided by rationality and integrity. This puritanical concentration ethic was best embodied by Cato the Younger's philosophical idol, Socrates. Though he lived centuries before Stoicism flourished, Socrates personified the ideals of self-mastery and modest living, unperturbed by external vanities that Stoics deeply revered. Though the philosophical gadfly of ancient Athens was hideous in appearance, lived in abject poverty, and was seen by many as strange, Socrates never concerned himself with material wealth, physical beauty, or the opinions of others. He ruthlessly directed all attention inwards, towards achieving excellence of reason, self-interrogation of ethical principles, and serving as a goad towards wisdom to those around him. When aristocrats and sophists mocked his lack of concern for comfort and social graces, Socrates was infamously indifferent. "You are concerned with making yourself seem important," he chided critics. "I focus solely on trying to become a person of merit, logic, and integrity." Virtue and concentrated wisdom were the sole pursuits worthy of his attention. Ultimately, Socrates accepted his unjust execution by drinking poison hemlock, believing deviation from philosophical principles was the only path not worth walking. Never did he direct his energies and final breaths towards wailing or grasping over ephemera like fame or material luxury beyond his control. True to Stoic ideals, his full consciousness remained transfixed on personifying integrity until the very end. The Stoics saw in Socrates a mythic representation of the pinnacle of human existence, achieving tranquility and enlightenment by relentlessly directing one's attentional resources only towards perfecting one's reasoning faculties and commitment to virtue, not frivolously investing attention in externals like money, celebrity, or vain social approval. It paints a stark contrast from how most of us live in today's age of infinite digital noise, craving external indifference like internet fame, personal brands, wealth signals, and mass entertainment. The Stoics would bemoan how we have allowed this sea of distraction and ephemera to metastasize, constantly threatening to divert focus and attentional resources away from our core capacities for reason and ethical living. Perhaps this call towards hyper-intentional allocation of your powers of focus is the most potent reason Stoicism's ideals remain so viscerally compelling thousands of years later. The ancient philosophy serves as a spiritual anchor, keeping us grounded and oriented towards our highest human potentials, a tonic against the toxins of frivolous distraction and obsession with external indifference that constantly threaten to derail us. As the Stoic teacher Epictetus framed the philosophy's mission, there is but one way to tranquility of mind and happiness, and that is to account no external circumstances good or bad, but to cultivate our mind to meet the events of life with wisdom, freedom, calmness, and fortitude. Of course, achieving anything resembling this as a modern human being, surrounded by infinite inputs militating for our focus, would require Herculean diligence and restraint. But the Stoics would contend that it's only through regularly fortifying our powers of reason against the forces of distraction and external temptations that we grow spiritually and ethically. Make your mind robust by expelling your judgment day by day, Marcus Aurelius counseled, and arriving in the evening at the sobriety of a bathed body. By achieving this state of tranquility, you will give your greatest gift to the world, a soul untainted and unperturbed. So next time you find yourself transfixed by an influencer's polished online persona, a promoted celebrity interview, or an advertisement peddling material obsessions, pause. Reflect on whether this consumption is nourishing your pursuit of wisdom and ethical character, or simply draining your precious attentional reserves into the void of ephemeral distraction. Remember the Stoics' radical embrace of ruthlessly auditing, where we invest our consciousness and energies, directing them away from vain external pursuits and squarely towards cultivating robust, unwavering reason and integrity within. For in regaining command of how we wield this potent attentional power, we maximize our human potential for tranquility, self-mastery, and honorable existence. With steadfast Stoic concentration and judicious rationing of our mind's energies, we starve the mass of digital noise, distraction, and obsession over indifference continually lapping at the shores of our focus. And in withholding our attention, we deprive these external forces of the very thing that feeds their power over us in the first place. If you have made it this far, comment down below with the word 100% to confirm that you have received the knowledge from this video. For more interesting topics, make sure you watch the recommended video that you see on the screen right now. Thanks for watching.